welcome to the DraftKings tight end analysis. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Russell here with me talking about some tight ends that he likes for DraftKings this week. I mean, we're talking cash, we're talking GPP, and even talking a punt tight end that I know, you are probably anxious to play a little bit.
So, something to note on DK, especially slates are kind of important this week for tight end because when you look at those Monday night matchups, I mean, I like Vance McDonald, Jordan Reed as well. I think those are two guys that, Greg Olsen on the Thursday slate. I mean, those are three guys right there that you just don't have a chance to get exposure to. So we're kind of looking at a little bit of a limited slate in terms of tight ends and DraftKings, but I mean, overall, we got some pretty interesting plays to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. And you're talking cash game ones here first. Gary Barnidge at 4,700. Certainly a reasonable price here and going up against an Eagles defense. Pretty average against tight ends.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we're going to see a lot of different things from the Eagles this year without Chip Kelly, and just a lot different roster composition, especially defensively. So I don't mind Barnidge as a talent himself, and I think the breakout last year plus the contract extension, plus I mean they brought in Seth DeValve in the draft in like the 4th round, I believe, but he's a developmental guy. He's not a year one guy. They don't really have anyone to compete with snaps, like he's all alone there. Even in terms of receivers, I mean, it's really just Corey Coleman. And then, you got Terrell Pryor and Josh Gordon when he comes back. But for now, I think Barnidge is going to be someone Robert Griffin relies on at least early in the season. At least he, in a new system, I think this is going to be the safety valve, at least for the first, a few weeks of the season. So I like him quite a bit. We haven't projected for 12.5 points. I mean, I think that's more than reasonable. Eagles aren't a great defense. So I like Barnidge quite a bit.
Yeah, I definitely do too, especially at that price. And then obviously you're staying in the same game for your next one for about $400 cheaper. Zach Ertz. I mean, I like him a lot this week. I mean, especially on DraftKings at that price.
Yeah, so this is price considered value for sure. I mean, I like Barnidge, but Ertz being cheaper than him is a little crazy to me. I think Ertz is in play for my top tight end on this slate. I believe he is. So obviously same projection on here, but just in terms of this matchup with Cleveland, they just don't have anyone to cover Ertz. Ertz, obviously, with the great breakout second half. If you haven't seen that, I would go check out those box scores at the end of the year. Obviously, we see some players, break out at the end of the year, and it's a little fluky because, beat up defenses and teams are kind of giving up on the season. But this seems real. They gave him a much nicer even extension than Barnidge got, so he's a prominent player in that offense. Nelson Aguilar has not emerged. I mean, they have Dorial Green Beckham there as well, but those two have not emerged as like third options in the offense there. So it's Ertz, it's Jordan Matthews, and I like Ertz as the best matchup there. So I think that's easy cash right there.
Yeah, I certainly agree, and I mean, Vegas is expecting Eagles to still put up points, even with the rookie quarterback, even with some question marks as far as guys outside of Ertz and Matthews. So I like him. I like that price. I'm definitely in agreement. In terms of GPPs, you got two interesting guys here. I think that are really going to fly under the radar, and obviously starting with Jason Witten.
Yeah, so Jason Witten, sort of in the twilight of his career, obviously hasn't had over 800 receiving yards in each of the last 2 years. It's kind of a bummer. But I think with Dak Prescott kind of, getting the start here early on, he's going to need a safety valve to rely on. And just like we talked about with RG3, these inexperienced quarterbacks, sure, it's not always necessarily the tight end, but there is some safety involved, whether it's a slot receiver or someone close to the line of scrimmage. We even see it with third down backs sometimes. So maybe, we could even see it with Zeke as well. But I just think he needs someone close to the line of scrimmage that's going to be able to bail him out and be, my reads fell apart, so here's Jason Witten wide open for 5 yards. So I just think that's going to be there. Not afraid of the Giants being able to shut Witten down. They haven't been able to his entire career, so I like that matchup. Obviously, you like the rank against tight ends. You like the Cowboys team total. Who knows how much they're going to pass? Probably not a ton. But if I'd have to guess, I'd say the target share goes pretty much strictly to Witten and Dez. So I actually like Witten more than what we have him projected for. And I think he's actually a borderline cash play for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, in terms of PPR scoring as well, as you mentioned, those dump offs. I mean, say he does get 5 to 7 receptions. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, obviously we can see kind of that 60-yard game, possibly maybe even get up there in terms of ceiling and tossing a touchdown as well. So I like him quite a bit at that price. And obviously, I mean, you talked about guys like Barnidge and Ertz who are kind of close, which is kind of why he's one of those reasons that he will fly under the radar.
Certainly.
Next one here, you got Julius Thomas, 3,800, and he's a guy I like a ton. I mean, just overall for the season and not really getting the respect he deserves.
So the Julius Thomas situation is something to always keep in mind, and what I'm referring to is, so they brought Julius Thomas in as a big-time free agent last offseason, and that was before Allen Robinson was a superstar. That was Allen Hurns was there, but we still weren't quite sure what he was. You know, this team was really young and emerging. We figured, you know, Blake Bortles was still going to pretty much struggle in year 2. This offense is completely different now. I mean, they extended Allen Hurns. He has a nice contract. Allen Robinson's one of the best receivers in the NFL now. Blake Bortles looks good. So they don't need Julius Thomas to be the superhero. You know, they don't need him to be the main guy. He's just going to be running, you know, he's going to have wide open spaces. It's all going to be on Hurns and Robinson. Julius Thomas is going to be the under the radar guy that can kind of sneak around in the flats and, you know, 10, 15 yards down the field. And I see a lot of big plays for him this year and plays where there's coverage blunders and he's just not covered because they're focusing so much on Hurns and Robinson. So 3,800, I love this potential even against the Packers offense that does have some nice, you know, coverage pieces. But yeah, especially, you know, at home, I just like this matchup. He's finally healthy, so that's always been an issue. His issue's never been staying on the field, like being good when he's on the field. So yeah, I like him quite a bit at this price especially.
Definitely. I mean, our cafe value has him actually rated pretty highly as well. So, I mean, you know, a cafe value right around 15.5, projection slightly over 10. I'm in agreement for that price. I mean, he's cheaper than Jason Witten, which I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit odd in terms of where we're pricing these guys at. And moving on to the punt tight end here, staying within that same Jaguars-Packers game, you talk about Jared Cook, who's just 2,900.
Yes, I illustrated a little Twitter soliloquy today, so if you want to go check that out on Jared Cook, go and follow me at Russell J. Clay. Basically, Jared Cook, his hands are very questionable. His athletic profile is not. Aaron Rodgers is not. His snaps with Richard Rodgers are going to be probably a bigger issue than we generally realize right now. I mean, for the average athlete Richard Rodgers is, he certainly got a lot of snaps last year, and he was certainly effective in what the Packers asked him to do, and he clearly has Aaron Rodgers' trust. Those snaps are not going away. So thinking Jared Cook's going to come in and be this featured type of tight end, that's not what you're getting. But what you are getting is a guy who's super athletic for his position, and he's huge. So he's a matchup mismatch. So I think you just look at, okay, there's going to be a few opportunities for big plays every game down the seam. And I think we could see, you know, he's going to have a lot of 20 and 30-yard receptions this year. That's what we're going to see. So you're kind of hoping for, you know, 2 big plays and a touchdown. And I certainly think that's possible in this offense, in this matchup, at his price. I just think it all matches up really well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's kind of, I mean, also you're looking 2,900. It's one of those plays that's at a tight end position. Obviously, you still like to get points. It's almost what's there to lose. I mean, you can take a shot in GPPs. In talking strategy, I feel like 2 tight ends on DraftKings has been kind of a viable option because there's no Jordan Reed on the main slate, because you don't really have those elite guys. Does that kind of take away the appeal as far as a 2 tight end situation?
You know, the optimizer loves it. I normally am okay with throwing into two solid tight ends. I mean, if I could get Zach Ertz in a flex situation, I like that. Maybe if you're going really high end and you want to do a Cook Ertz or something like that. But overall, yeah, I'm not in love with two tight ends and one in the flex this week.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's more looking forward. It could be a viable option, but this week I'm definitely in agreement. I think if Jordan Reed was there for the taking, that would be a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, give me Jordan Reed in that flex. Give me Jordan Reed in the flex, and and then you sign out. Yeah,
just log in, sign out. That's it. So that's gonna wrap it up with the DraftKings tight end analysis. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all the great tools and content.